San Fernando Massacre. In late March 2011, along Federal Highway 101 near San Fernando, Tamaulipas, Mexico, what should have been a routine trip north towards the US, Mexico's border became one of the most horrific massacres in the history of the Mexican drug war. Migrants from Central and South America, many seeking a better life in the United States, boarded buses traveling through Tamaulipas. This region was a strategic corridor fiercely contested by powerful criminal groups. At the time, the ruthless Los Zetas cartel had broken away from its former allies and was expanding control over northeastern Mexico's territory and trafficking routes. They were already infamous for extreme violence and abductions. During these days, Los Zetas intercepted multiple passenger buses traveling through San Fernando. Armed cartel members stopped the buses, forced passengers off, and dragged them away. The abducted victims were taken to remote ranches near La Joya, where they faced unimaginable terror. Cartel members reportedly gave some captives a cruel choice: join Los Zetas and fight, or refuse and die. Some men were separated and forced to fight each other in a twisted form of recruitment, but for most, there was no mercy. Over the following days, nearly 200 people were slaughtered, executed, tortured, and buried in 47 hidden mass graves across the ranch. By June 7th, 2011, Mexican authorities had already recovered 193 bodies, a grim confirmation of the massacre's scale and brutality. Casino Royal Arson Attack. In the summer of 2011, the city of Monterrey, Nuevo León, was already under siege. Once considered one of Mexico's safest and wealthiest cities, Monterrey had become a battleground between the government and one of the most violent cartels Mexico had ever seen, Los Zetas. Originally formed by ex-Mexican special forces, Los Zetas weren't just drug traffickers. They were enforcers who believed fear was more powerful than bullets. And in August of that year, they proved it. By 2011, Los Zetas controlled large parts of Nuevo León. They financed operations through drugs and mass extortions. Businesses across Monterrey were forced to pay derechos de piso, protection money. Those who refused were punished publicly. Restaurants were burned, nightclubs were shot up, owners were kidnapped or killed. One of those businesses was Casino Royale, a popular gambling hall along Avenida San Jerónimo, frequented mostly by middle-aged and elderly people. According to investigators, the casino's owners had stopped paying extortion fees to Los Zetas. That decision sealed their fate. On the afternoon of August 25th, 2011, just after 3:50 p.m., several armed men arrived at Casino Royale. Security cameras later showed them entering calmly, as if they were customers. They didn't come to rob the place. They didn't come to threaten anyone. They came to make an example. The gunmen blocked the exits, poured fuel and gasoline throughout the interior, and set the building on fire. Within minutes, thick black smoke filled the casino. Most of the people inside weren't young or fast. Many were elderly. Some were disabled. As flames spread, panic took over. The casino had no working emergency exits. Windows were sealed shut. Escape routes were blocked. People tried to crawl under the smoke, breaking down doors with their bare hands. Some collapsed before they ever reached an exit. By the time firefighters arrived, the building was already an inferno. The fire was finally put out. 52 people were dead. It was one of the deadliest attacks on civilians in the history of Mexico's drug war. Chihuahua Prison Massacre. In the border city of Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, one man stood out among the criminal underworld: Ernesto Alfredo Piñón de la Cruz, better known as El Neto. For years, El Neto was more than just an inmate. He was the leader of Los Mexicles, a gang deeply connected to the larger Sinaloa aligned cartel forces that have long battled for control over smuggling routes and territory in northern Mexico. Since 2009, El Neto had been locked up in Cerezo No. 3, a state prison in Juarez, serving a sentence of over 200 years for kidnapping, murder, and other violent crimes, a term designed to ensure he would never walk free again. By 2023, his prison was far from ordinary. El Neto commanded influence from behind bars. Other inmates enjoyed perks. They were unauthorized VIP cells with TVs, safes filled with cash, weapons, and drugs. Reports suggested the line between guards and gang hierarchy was blurred. As 2022 ended, tensions grew. Officials were discussing moving El Neto to a maximum security federal facility, exactly what his allies inside and outside the prison feared. If El Neto was transferred, his grip on Juarez streets could weaken, so his allies made a bold decision. They would free him themselves. At about 7 a.m. on New Year's Day, the prison was filled with visitors and guards marking the holiday weekends. Suddenly, a convoy of armed men in armored vehicles approached Cerezo number 3 and opened fire on the guards, sparking chaos. The assault was swift and coordinated, a planned attack designed to break into the prison and shatter the walls of authority. Inside, inmates seized the moment. A riot erupted. Shouts and gunfire filled the corridores. Walls echoed with terror. By the end of the attack and riot, 17 people were dead, including 10 correctional officers and 7 inmates. At least 25 to 30 inmates escaped, including El Neto and other Mexicles members. Weapons, drugs, cash, and contraband were found scattered throughout the facility. What was supposed to be a prison had become a battlefield. Once the escape was underway, the violence didn't stop at the prison walls. As officers scrambled to respond, shootouts erupted in the neighborhood around Juarez. The public was shaken. Shops closed early, children stayed indoors, and news of gunmen on the loose spread panic. Families waiting outside for New Year's visits suddenly found themselves caught in fear rather than celebration. The authorities moved quickly. Military units, state police, and federal agents flooded the city in one of the largest manhunts seen in the region. After intense searching, El Neto was found less than 48 hours later. A shootout broke out during the attempted capture, and he was killed while resisting arrest.